Holy shit. Ooh. Woohoo! Interesting. It's wild out there. All right. Let's see. Still getting this figured out. Chat. Okay. Seems there. Doesn't seem to be. Oh. Well, yeah, it is working. Okay. All right. Okay, so that's okay. That's the delay. Sorry, everybody. I'm just trying to figure out this whole. I've never. This is a first crack at this with YouTube, so it's figuring it out still. Give me just a second. I'm live now, so that's good. That's a start. Trying to like monitor everything and figure things out here. So give me just a second. I'm almost there. Okay. Functional. Okay, I guess I'm a real boy. I'm trying to figure out how to do this kind of a convenient way where I can see everything, and you guys aren't. I don't want the echo here. Mute that, I guess. Oh, hello. Yeah, this is my first time doing it with this, so this is a whole new situation. So let me see if I can figure this out. One here, one there. YouTube's being a meanie, and it won't. I'm trying to figure out an easy way to kind of show the chat here, but it's not popping out for me. Whoo, that thunder! Whoa, that was close. Very cool. Okay, that seems to be the chat. There we go. Okay, good. All right, we are okay then. It's all here. It's all real. I just need to be able to see the chat now, which keeps disappearing on me. It should be... Oh, no, here it is. It's just stealth over here. I got this, got that. Okay, and we're in. If I can find my draw-majigger. There it is. The technical term, draw-majigger. Escuch. I am not working on anything interesting today. I just thought it might be fun to, since I'm sitting here drawing, screaming at me. Thought it might be fun to just sit here and chat and draw a little bit and work. I'm working on an asset for a video that's coming up. I do not need these headphones since I'm not wearing them or speaking into them. For a video that's coming up, I'm working on like an intro sequence that's probably it's probably a little too ambitious. Honestly, probably just working on something that's never gonna get used, but I figure why not enjoy the process, and give me a chance to sit here and talk a little bit. So that will be fun. I'm hoping to do a thematic kind of introduction to... I'm cribbing this background, by the way. This isn't wholly an original design. I'm going to modify it quite a lot, but you can see my source kind of hiding on the side there. I'm framing it on a very specific reference from a movie I like, so it's designed to sort of evoke that, even though I'm going to junk it up and, give it the Automaton treatment and make it into a little bit of a sort of a scrapyard design like I like to do. That's the dream. So we'll see how that goes. But what was I gonna say? Yeah, so I want to do like a little opening sequence for one of my videos, because I'd like something for this particular format. Is I want to be able to start and end it with a little bit of conversation and energy, and so I figured why not weave that into the narrative of the video rather than just starting in and then trying to just come in really big. Like I can instead give it not an overly big intro. Like I don't want to do something big and sort of like clickbait bombastic, but I want to come in with a little bit of just a little bit of something to kind of set up the video. They say that's sort of the classic format is you at the beginning of your video you kind of make a promise on what it's going to be about, and then you can kind of deliver on it as it goes. That's kind of my objective here, but with some fun, I think, kind of narrative stuff weaved into what I'm trying to do here. So that should be interesting. Oh, hey, we actually have a few people watching too. Yay! Hi, people. Hello, strangers. What are you doing here? You got better things to do. I might need to get something really quick. Let me look. I have my pictures for the channel are the most realistic depiction of my workspace possible. I live in a nest of cords. I belong to the machine. I am one with it. I will be right back. Not right back. I'm going over there. You'll be able to hear me, but I'm going to walk away for just a second here while I figure out one more cord that I need to find. See if I can do it without dying. Sometimes I can, sometimes I can't. That's what I need. I need this bad Larry. Excellent. Okay. What is that? Magic rag. It's always underneath me somehow. Yeah. Alright. Yeah. Got my working board. If you're curious about this strange monochrome, I'm just framing right now. I haven't decided on the actual sort of palette of colors I'm going to use for this. I tend to do anything for the channel. My method is a riot of colors. I always work some color theory into it. I do have like I have like a sort of a Bible of the different like variations of colors that I use for the channel and in kind of what combination to make sure that there's no overlay. But that's mostly for like the title cards. Like I wanted to make sure that they're all in very distinctive and different color palettes. So at a glance, if you're sort of scrolling through them, you can tell what type of video it is, because God knows I don't make it easy. We have like 30 different kinds of things on this channel, and that's not likely to change because I don't want to manage multiple channels. This is enough. So we're a little bit stuck with that. Ooh. I'm hearing that thunder. It is rumbling. Looks like the hail stopped, though. We had like 5 or 6 minutes of just pounding hail, which is very rare for where I live. It was pretty cool. It was like if you went out in it, you might be defeated by nature. Trying to figure out, I don't know what I'm going to put quite in this shelf here, but this is a desk situation. And I'm hoping this angle ends up lively and not too weird. It's a little exaggerated, but I think it'll work. All right. I kind of want to crowd up this front area too. I think I might put a bunch of stuff up here so it doesn't look like a clean walkway. I think the objective, like the visual objective of this image, I need there to be enough space in here to have a character move around, because it's going to be lightly animated. Like there's going to be just a little bit of like kind of color and movement going on in there, but it's going to be more animatic style. So it's just going to be like kind of one of these, you know, like sort of cheap animation, I suppose. So I need enough room for a character to kind of move around in there, but visually I want it to have a theme of being like kind of enclosed, like they're this sort of like I don't know, you wouldn't know at a glance how someone gets in and out of this room. That's kind of the visual objective. And I'm not sure how I'm going to accomplish that yet, but the biggest thing, I'm going to need to make a lot of decisions on the way the like the lights and things. Actually, thankfully, this should be easy to do. I kind of just need a foreground and a background, which actually means I should take this thing right here. Whatever this is going to be ought to become a foreground element. Just kind of put that right here. Sort of work that in. I wanted, if at all possible, I think the angle, I think the angle is going to prevent it, but I would actually like to visually show some carpet in here. I'd like that to be a, ooh, switch layers? Nice switch layers. I'd like that to be a visual factor. I want to show, this room, it's based on the, like visually it's based on the recording studio from Phantom of the Paradise, is like what I want to evoke. So it's going to be really messy with like sort of wires and gubbins and like audio equipment type stuff. But something about that, like evoking that, I really want there to be like a shag rug in here. I want like a big thick, like maybe orange, not bright orange, but like a dull orange, like 70s style carpet on the ground. I feel like that will really like that will make it feel complete to me, if I can work that into the image. But I'll need to maybe make some space like over here for it. We'll see what I do. We'll see how it ends up. To develop some of this a little bit more first. I have another thing I might work on today, for this same video, but one that's much more likely to get used. So I have a few little assets to make for that that I might do as well. But my main purpose here is was just to get in and kind of figure out how how streaming on YouTube works, like what it is mechanically, and like kind of just work out the kinks of it. And so far so good. Seems to be working. I know my webcam is very on quality, but it's, you know, it's not really the focus. It's just really there to be there. I don't put my face in videos that I record normally. because I just don't. I don't know what it adds to it, but it. I don't know. I just don't. It's just not normally part of the format. I like a nice, clean, just video. But when it comes to recording stuff like this, I might just to I don't know, just to give a little bit more life. It's hard when you're live to be lively and seem lively, so it's helpful. It adds a little bit of something characterful on screen other than just what's happening and then me. I don't know, me describing what you're seeing. I suppose I feel like if you can see me a little bit, it adds a little bit more personal touch. Kind of makes me feel like I'm here with you. So that's nice. This angle is problematic. You know what I think it is? I think that background bit is throwing me. I think I'm like, yeah, there we go. I'm just like poisoning my brain with that. I need to, yeah, let's give it. I want this to be angled like, whew. This is hard. My brain does not want this piece to be the shape that it is. Like that, I think, something like that. Sort of works. And then let's bring that. Okay, there we go. Wait, that might be the key to it, right there. Because I have, I don't want to say tentative plans. I have ideas. There's a few games that I'm considering doing in kind of a stream format, for a specific reason, not just to stream. I've never been like really excited about going. I like the idea of having kind of people along with you for the ride. Like I like the liveliness of it. It does seem fun. But normally, I like to have my kind of recorded format where I have a little bit of room to edit and set things up, and I can kind of manage stuff. But I'm normally with somebody. So there's a few games that are long enough that I would like to sit down and really like crack into and play. But scheduling another person to do it for God knows what amount of time. Like if I wanted to play like a much longer game, I wouldn't want to subject another person to that, and I wouldn't want to pressure them to be entertaining for that long. Like I'd like something a little bit lighter that I can do just like with the audience and can kind of have fun along the way that way, rather than trying to make a video. You know what I mean? Like just playing it instead of making a video out of it would be a little bit easier. Because I've been hungry to play some more kind of long atmospheric games, which generally are better in summary, but that's just not my format. Like if I wanted to talk to you about about a lengthy game that I enjoy, I don't have the gumption to make like a video essay about it. It's much easier for me to play and go. I don't have the time more than anything. But it's also just not my passion to make those kinds of projects. So I'd rather just play along and sort of talk through it as I go, and people experience it their own way. Recently I've been thirsty to play like the original System Shock I've never played. And I've had that kind of on them, and a couple of other small RPGs, or not small, but a couple of other RPGs that you just wouldn't like let's play, the very low action, slow paced games where I would want to just sit and talk and ramble on, which is another thing too, just in the interest of the format. I feel like if I was playing something very story heavy, I can read and experience the story kind of in real time, as opposed to like if I had like a co-host, I would need to be like keeping them up on what's happening rather than reading at my own pace and then responding to it. Stuff like that. I don't know. Just a little bit of everything. If I wanted to play something long like that, there are some like big visual RPGs. Like I've kind of wanted to play Morrowind. It's been a few years, and I've actually never zeroed out Morrowind. Like I've never actually fully completed the story. Something has always happened to me to ruin that for me. So thus far it hasn't happened, which is a bummer because I'm a giant fan. But I've never actually gotten to credits on it, which I'd like to do. And then after that, I don't know if I enjoy that. It might be fun to do Oblivion again. It's been a really long time. The two games that I just have very fond memories of, and years of having Skyrim shoved in my face have just reminded me how much better Morrowind is. And I've been playing a few modern games, and I've been having this kind of weird dilemma where so I don't know, you sort of question yourself sometimes. You have a deep-seated opinion on something, and after a while you start to wonder, like, am I wrong? Am I an asshole? Like I feel like I'm remembering this correctly. And I've been comparing a lot of games UI to Morrowind recently, which I know seems like a silly thing to do. Morrowind doesn't have like a famously great UI. It does and it doesn't. It has a very simple one. It is like the definition of function over form. Everything in it just works. And I've played a few games since then too. This has always been a thing, but I've played a few things recently that have had very like immersive UIs that I just found ultra annoying. Like like the effort to make. Oh, hey Corey. That's Chum Corey in the chat right there. Like the efforts to make like a UI make you feel like you're part of the world can sometimes make me feel very disconnected from it, because it's this harsh reminder that I don't know. It's like the opposite effect. I feel like UIs should give you all the information efficiently, but working really hard to make them unobtrusive actually can kind of work in the opposite. A lot of good games will let you just turn this off, but I recall playing Elden Ring, and Elden Ring, for some insane reason, thought I wanted to hide my health bar all the time, which was maddening. There was an option for it, so it's fine. You can put anything you want in your game as long as I can toggle it off, then, it's not a valid criticism. It's all good. But the idea that I would want to play that way, like baffled me, because what it means is every time I want to know how much like health or whatever I have, which is all the time, like constantly, I have to do something to make it pop up. I have to remember I'm playing a video game. Another one that I've been playing recently, and I won't do any story spoilers, but I'll just want to talk about like this one thing, is Death Stranding has a very particular UI, and it is cumbersome. It is so lengthy to accomplish even the simplest of tasks, and it is to the end of immersion, but it is a level of immersion that makes you feel like the people in the world are really dumb, because this is how they do things every day. So I'm living it the way the character lives it, but the character is living inside of something insane and backwards and for no one's benefit. And so I just keep playing it and thinking, like, the Morrowind UI was dead simple. It was uncomplicated. It wasn't even particularly pretty. Like, you could always tell what was magic, what wasn't, what was equipped and what wasn't. Like, that was easy. You just mouse over things if you want to drop something. If I want to open my inventory, change weapons, throw something on the ground, whatever, that takes like 10 seconds maximum. And it's very good because it's very functional. That's how your inventory should be. Your inventory, I don't think your menus should be part of the world. It's kind of neat when they have little flourishes, but they should never take away from being able to operate them efficiently, unless managing your inventory is unless that is core to the game experience, juggling stuff around in your inventory, then it should just be fast and get things done really quickly. It shouldn't do more than that, Yeah, I don't know. Just the straightforwardness is for sure what I want out of something. And the same thing with like status screens and stuff. It is kind of neat if you're making a game like Dead Space. Dead Space has famously like basically nothing on screen. Your health bar is like attached to your spine, which is still badass. It's all these years I still look at it and I'm like, that's really cool. Guns pop up the amount of ammo they have. It's not on the screen. It's something you're seeing it the same way Isaac sees it. And all of that works really well for that game, because that game is minimal as far as what you're not juggling inventory. It's not an RPG. Kingsway. Yeah, Corey, there is Kingsway is possibly the best system of inventory management ever made. But that game, Kingsway is great. If you're out there and you haven't played Kingsway, it is unspeakably good. It's designed with a very particular nostalgia in mind, but maybe it's just very for me, but I really enjoyed it. But yeah, managing your inventory is a big part of that game, but you do it actively with your mouse on screen while stuff is happening. So you're meant to be panicked a little bit while things are going on, but even through that, they still keep it essentially quick and functional, even when the game's like messing with you on purpose. They're messing with you when the game means to, when it's purposeful for an interactive moment, not just all the time to remind you that you're playing a video game. And that is an excellent way to do it. Yeah, Kingsway is one of the best. But I was gonna say, like Morrowind is a game that came out in, like, I don't know what, 2001. If your UI isn't better than Morrowind's, it's not a good UI. And I don't consider it like top. Morrowind is like my 5 out of 10. That's like your bellwether. Everything works. That's all. It's not pretty. Everything's functional and fast. That should be your starting point for any inventory system. Is it annoying? Is it cumbersome? Can I do everything it's meant to do, and can I do it very quickly? If that is the case, you're at a good start, and then anything else you add is gravy, but you can't subtract from that basic functionality while you're at it, and that's where I think a lot of games go wrong. But anyway, along that line where I was complaining about inventory systems, I was thinking, like, I should play Morrowind again, because I'd like to see how it stacks up. I very often compare games to it, because again, it's a game that came out. It is what I don't know. It's kind of like the last of a breed, but it is what AAA games on the PC were before consoles were king. Was a game that's like, doesn't look amazing. It's not like what's the word? It's not like this action, like every button press, you know, is a new rush of endorphins, but it's a game that's just, here's a big thing, go mess around, you push this game's limits, like here's everything. Yes, you can cheat, do it. Like it wants you to play with every toy it has. It's unrestrained, it's crazy, it's over the top, and there's a huge emphasis on just telling an interesting story, and it doesn't really care how you get it done. It is definitely the version of open world that is gone now, but it is like a paragon of its generation. But it's not because it's a masterpiece. It's great, but you don't look at it. It's not like trying to think of another game to compare it to. It's not like one of those games where you're like, you could never make that game again. Oh, you just had all these. It's not like Secret of Monkey Island, where it was like this convergence of people and time and talent and energy and all these amazing factors that came together to make something that is like this gem that you know, this huge lightning strike. It's just throw it all in there, write some good characters, make the core story interesting, make sure that you've got everybody talking to each other about the writing, so that when characters have dialogue, it all adds up, and make it so if you keep on running, you'll eventually go to Mach 5 and you can jump over mountains. Like, who cares? Get in there and do it. It's just, that's everything a good game experience should be. This is sort of wacky and fun in that way. It is the opposite of atmospheric, but in the best way. So if you're restraining players, you should always be doing it for a good story-driven reason. If you're restraining players just to do it because you don't want them to play the game not the way you want it, it's bad game design. You don't want to do that. It's always horrible when you have a moment in a game, and this happens in a lot of games. This isn't like a smack at any particular studio or something, but when a game, there's like kind of a thing that happens, maybe just with me, maybe it's just me being bullheaded, where a game starts to like give you mechanics, right? And they're like, here's your sword, and here are the things you can do with the sword, and they're like, and here's like a boomerang, or here's like a grappling hook, or here's something silly that you can also use. And your instinct is usually like, oh, I want to play with the silly thing. Like, I want that. Like, you give me a yo-yo, can I fight with the yo-yo? Is this a yo-yo fighting game? Like, will this game let me do it? And you want to mess around and engage with those mechanics. But you hit a point where you go, okay, this is where the game is not going to let me be silly anymore. This is where I have to go sit down and actually learn what this game actually wants of me. And there's nothing inherently wrong with that. That is not a problem, unless the main thing the game wants you to do isn't fun. But Sekiro did that. I found that to be something very interesting about that game, is they start giving you silliness, but they're in the beginning, or for a lot of the early parts of the game, they keep kind of giving you these moments where you're like, I'm glad you're having fun, but you need to know how to play this game. And they would give you fights here and there where you can clown shoe your way all the way up to a certain fight, and like, okay, but you got to play for real right now. And when I first started playing, I actually found it really annoying. I was like, Like, just let me be a silly ninja. Like, let me mess around and blah, blah, blah. But, like, once you start to learn the core mechanics of the game, your silliness factor goes through the roof. It serves the purpose of giving you these fundamentals that you can build a clown car out of. And by the time you're halfway through the game, you're just running, dancing, and throwing glitter at people, and just you're charging at people, just hand over hand, throwing pocket sand at them, and everything becomes sort of wacky, cuckoo bananas. And you get to play the game really silly in the back half, but you need to learn those fundamentals so that all that silliness works. And like that's how it's done. You took me away and then you brought me right back, Sekiro. It's just awesome stuff like that. Other games, a lot of games don't do that so much, where they especially if you're playing on like a hard difficulty, you kind of have to play it the game's way. Which again is fine for like an atmospheric game, but if you're just if it is just like an action game where the point is to have fun, just let me have fun. Let me screw around, you know. You're not helping anyone by taking that from people. And a window behind me, I can hear cars moving past. Yeah, I don't know. That's my TED talk on game design. Thank you. Good night. I'm trying to think. I feel like there was another game I played recently that was the same thing, where I was just like, man, I have a way I want to play this game, but the game just won't let me. And I don't remember what it was, which is unfortunate. It can be one of the biggest annoyances with that is not with gameplay, but when the story is like that, where you're just like, I don't agree. like your character is saying stuff and you're like, I don't want this to be true. I had a weird, it was sort of a surreal one. This is an early access game, so I'm not trying to knock it too hard. But it was interesting, and it was called, I want to say it was called like La Revolution or something like that. And it was this weird kind of roguelike game in the French Revolution, but with like some magic and silliness and stuff. But one of the first things that happens in that game, you're in the midst of this weird like magical apocalypse that is happening in the middle of the French Revolution. Great starting point for a setting. It's like a isometric action game where you're kind of running around, and again, everything's lined up so far. But like in the tutorial, you meet this guy who's like laying in the gutter, and there's like a dead cop next to him, and your character's like, whoa, who are you? And the guy's like, oh, I'm blah blah blah, how are you? And there's no like, hey, why are you standing over any corpse, let alone the corpse of a police officer? Like, you just don't ask him that question. And I was like, what is this part of the story? Does my character not care? What's the what's my angle in this? We've established that I am someone from this place. Like, it's weird that this is happening. And then like a couple of cops show up and they're like, hey, you murdered a police officer. And the guy was like, hey, can you help me out here real quick? And the tutorial fight was me killing those cops who just found someone who had committed a murder. And I just couldn't figure out why I was helping this weird guy. And then you go through it and you help him, and they're like, good job, you. And then the next part of the game is you like going back to his lair, and then it starts setting you up to like to be in this world where you can kind of like do missions for different people. So it's like, yeah, you can go and kind of like help the establishment, or like work against them, or be part of the revolution, or like go do stuff for the weird magical creatures. It's like this evil flower is like taking stuff over, and it's making people like trip out. The premise was very interesting, but I just couldn't figure out why my character did that, because right after that he kind of becomes a skeptic, and I just kept meeting these weird, mean people who I didn't want to do anything for, but I didn't have a choice but to help them. And from the perspective of the game, I don't know why my character was helping them. Like, you'd meet someone and they're blah, 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 this, you stupid young people, you don't know anything, and this, that. Now go do a complicated series of tasks for me. And my character's like, okay, I have no personality. I'll just do whatever anyone tells me to do. And it wore me down, because I just didn't want him to be doing these things he was doing for people I didn't like. And it wasn't woven into the narrative in any meaningful way, so I got bummed out with it. I just kind of stopped playing. But again, that was... I wish I could remember the name of that game. It was fun to play. It had a cool premise. I hope it's doing well, because it was neat. But it definitely felt half-baked at that time. But But a good concept will carry you far. Like, I almost kept playing just because this, like, weird eldritch horror that is, like, a flower that pieces people out. Like, if I remember right, was it, like, it, like, makes people, like, calm and blissful, and it, like, eats their dreams, I think, was something like that. I don't remember. It was odd, but I remember thinking at the time, like, this flower seems like a pretty good way to go if you're like a dirty peasant. Like not that you should help the flower, but I was like, man, of all the, like, horrible things to happen to these people, of all the eldritch horrors to land, like, these guys rolled a 20. Like, they got the best of the best. Like a cool flower that's doing you, well, it's not helping you out, it is killing you, but it's gonna kill you via, like, opium overdose instead of, nightmaring you into the next world, like most eldritch creatures do. This thing kind of works. I bet this is remarkably boring to look at. We'll put a little bit of background back. I see a little more fun. Kind of see what it's going to become. That is definitely, like, of all the things that can happen in a game, the one that wears me down the most is when the characters in the game do stuff that doesn't make any sense to me. Or that I don't, when they don't explain why they're doing something, or people just go along, like, you meet an NPC who's, like, a weird jerk, and then you just don't confront that information. You just do whatever they say because you're shaved head, white bread, main character action man with no personality, and you do anything anyone tells you to do. And I just slowly lose interest and turn the game off. Game's got to get away from that. Game's got to get away from mean, sassy quest givers. You got to give me a reason. One of the big ones we played when we did the Surge. The Surge had an interesting bit of that. It did have a little bit of choice for who you help in the long run of the game. Like, you did have one choice that kind of do more like a Dark Souls thing where you just kind of have, like, one choice at the end. But it was an interesting one, and the world was inherently compelling. But it had this problem that it didn't, like, truly get, what's the word? It had a villain, but it didn't do enough with what that villain was doing. Like, they didn't, I don't know how to describe it. The game treats one character like they're extremely evil, and we see no evidence of that in game. And then there's, like, this corporation who's also kind of transparently evil, but it's like one of those classics. I'm gonna spoil it, but it's like one of those classic, like, rich guy wants to make a utopia stories. But it's gonna work. And I don't know why I'm a cog in this machine. Like, I don't know why I'm, like, the deciding factor. Like, you are the worst person to make that decision for the world. It reminds me of, like, Assassin's Creed. Assassin's Creed is the best example of this, where you spend, before the game went off into Crazy Town, the first 3 games all sort of have one narrative, which is about Adam Sandler deciding the fate of the world. And he is just the wrong person to make that decision. And he makes a decision for us. Like, we as the players don't. He just guesses which one you think is the right one. And it actually seems very much like the wrong one, but the game doesn't really address that. It just pretends like there's only one right answer. And it's like that classic narrative dissonance where your character has just turned a blind eye to 50% of the game's content and made a decision. And I just remember being mad. It's just like, why did I go through all of this trouble for you to screw the world up irrevocably? I don't like you, and I don't want you to succeed. I want to finish this game so that I'm done. Like, I just want to see how the story ends, but I'm just invested enough to be mad. Which I guess isn't the worst place to be. If you're having an emotional reaction, the entertainment is working. That is essentially the purpose. But it's a difficult thing. But I don't know. That's what I get for being at all invested in Assassin's Creed, I suppose. That's on me. That's on me. All right, these things are kind of coming together. When I get into do the individual stuff on these, it's going to get I don't want to say unfun, but it's going to get very, I'm going to have to get in real close and start drawing some specific stuff, but it's coming together so far. This reminds me, this will make a good background. Back in the day, we had a chum Christian, one of the, I don't know, he may have gotten this idea from somewhere, but I got it from him certainly, is he just drew like a background, like this. He did like a black background, and he drew shelves and like a little open treasure chest and a desk and a stick figure window. And then he cut a hole out in the window and put a nice background behind it, so it looked like it was like looking out into like a sunny day. And then he arranged all his icons on the shelves. And I was like, that's genius. That's the smartest background I've ever seen in my life. It looks like a tiny room and all your stuff is stocked on shelves. I thought that was really cool. And that's what this reminds me of, because it's the white on black right now. I'm going to change this. This is going to have probably proper lines by the end of it, but right now I just wanted to tone in this kind of dark, I don't know, it's just figured out where the light is and stuff, and just trying to get the basic geometry of everything together. This is a really weird shaped room, and I want to make sure everything works visually before I get in and do any further details. I think I'm going to leave that wire and let that be on a separate layer. Ooh, oh, some water, huh? Oh. All right. Yeah, later I think I need to do well, not need to, but I'm gonna put I have many more shorts to put together. I've been having a lot of fun going through the all of the Reventure endings and doing the little drawings for those. That's been a good time. The little recording drawings are a ton of fun. They're kind of hard to do. Well, not hard to do, but it's tricky. So the way I have to record those essentially is I can either do them like sort of line by line, which is I could pop out, like I can make another window that's showing what I'm drawing right here, and I can record that, but it doesn't record my brushstrokes. Like if I did this, it would just be the line appearing. It wouldn't show the whole stroke. So it looks really like sort of weird and hitchy. And at that speed, you probably can't tell the difference, but there's a little bit of character that gets lost in it. So the way I actually record it to keep it like very lively is I do it like this. I just starch stiff like this, and then I can't rotate or resize the camera. I have to do all of it like basically like I'm digitally drawing on a Post-it note, like no changes, no alterations. That way it records flat so that I can put it in flat. Otherwise, I would have to do a crazy amount of work, or even just like if I turn it like this, can't do it now. Like I wouldn't be able to edit that in. I would have to chop that part out anytime it was rotated. Or it would make you nauseous because the canvas would be spinning and flipping all over the place. It'd be cuckoo bananas, which it might be fun once, but after that you wouldn't want to watch it again. So I have to kind of keep them stiff. So I have to be very warmed up and very in the zone, and I have to sit very close to my screen and focus my brain 100% on it in order to get it to work right. All right, these cabinets are kind of coming together. This is starting to work. There's a little bit of empty space right here, but I think I'm going to leave it. I think I like that kind of... maybe I'll put some wires and stuff. I don't know. We'll see. I might leave it empty. I kind of want this to have some fade into darkness space, because I think just keeping in tone with the channel that we're going to have some aggressive lighting in this room. It's on brand. It's on brand. If I'm not lighting everything like a crazy disco, I mean... What is this channel even? So it's our heart and soul. Let's see. And this is where it widens out. Yeah. Perfect. Looks like a weird future server room. Which I guess is kind of what I'm trying to evoke, so we'll call that a victory. That's a win for me. Alright, so those are kind of working. That'll all be on that layer. Oh yeah, kind of... Go, I can be a little looser right here because this won't be visible most of the time. Trying to maintain these shapes in this like sort of curve is odd. It is an experience. All right. but seems to be working so far. Seems to be working so far. Yeah. Yeah. One of the things I might do, this is, the purpose of this room and this little animation is to do like a little bit of a, I don't like the word meta, to do a little bit of like, sort of arching visuals for the thing. This is going to be, I want to do like a little radio broadcast style opening for the video that this is for. And I think the implication that I want it to have is that this is like the channel room. So I think I want to take some of the other cards, some of the other title cards, and put them in some like view screens and stuff around this room, so that it sort of looks like the like where all the other video things are getting broadcast from. That might be interesting if I can make it work. Actually, that'd be kind of, oh god, it'd be blinding. But I could put those in and then show the lighting sources for them. So like have this be like an arcade cabinet and have like the lighting source for whatever style video, because you know all of them have different contrasting lightings. I could put them in here, but it would make this overall image blinding. Because it would have every color in creation just sort of flying all over the place, and then you'd have to try to pay attention to a character in the midst of it, and then I'd have to track like 9 lighting sources, or no, more than that. We have 4 or 5 different video formats. Each of them is 2 colors and an accent. About 12, yeah, about 12 different colors, all reflecting off of a metal character. It's a true nightmare, that is. Might be neat, though. It might be neat. Yeah, right, let's see. I need to put some stuff around the room, too, but I might get at that last. Let's do these wires. Let's get started. Yeah. Some of this action here. Just kind of imagine it's like a bundle. I always like drawing wires. Something very satisfying about it. It's kind of like drawing rope. It's straightforward, but it's very nuanced. It's at once very complicated and very simple, in a pleasing way. Looks like it stopped raining. But the cold remains. The other thing I'll need to do, I don't know if I'm sure I'll figure it out, but I'll need to figure out a better thumbnail for if I'm gonna stream stuff, or maybe I'll make one game specific. That'd be fun. Same way I do for like the normal videos, you know, make like a little image for the game I'm currently playing. I like doing it that way. I don't like I mean, I guess they are generics, but I like making one for each game. But mostly I want to make sure that they have like a uniformity to them. Something I don't want to criticize, but it's just something I often don't care for on a lot of YouTube channels, especially gaming channels, is that I can't make heads or tails of the thumbnails like at a glance. Like they're not very readable unless you stop and like squint at them. Because a lot of people like to do like an image from the game, but with like stuff photoshopped over them, or like their own face, like making a really big expression with like a bombastic title. And I'm just not a fan of that. I think it comes off a little bit cheap for me. So I always want to do something that's a little bit specific to the video, a little bit specific to the channel. I want to keep like a sort of a visual tone amongst all of the elements. And it's fun to do. I just like doing all of that, and like having the specific visuals and the specific covers and the specific like lighting choices and stuff is really fun for me to do, and it's just where my skill set's at. You know, you make up for what you don't have with what you do have, and of all the things I do on the channel, the only one have like a real acumen for is doing the sort of the design side and the art stuff, so I may as well go ham on that. If I'm gonna do the heck out of something, let's do the heck out of something I actually have some skill points in, you know. Spent all this time learning it, may as well use it. let's just have some more of these kind of dangling. Actually, it might be fun. Let's do one. Let's have one wire kind of coming out and hanging on like a little rope or something. Like, can I even communicate this? This might be a little too. This might be a little too ambitious at this resolution, but let's see what I can do. Yeah, I think I can do it. That'll be fine. Something kind of, or maybe have yeah, like this, maybe like a shunt, where it's kind of like connected. And then let's plug this. Let's just connect this to the side of this in like a big, obvious way. Yeah, like a big clamp. That'll be cool. Yeah, it'll be fun. I like a machine that, like, even if you don't know what it does, I like when you can look at it and at least work out how it pieces together. If you have like a piece of weird technology that does something insane and nonsensical, I'm fine with that. But if it's like a magic box or something, like, that's where you start to lose me. If you want to make like a supercomputer that does something like nutso bananas, I'd rather it look like a weird computer with wires and stuff and blinking lights than, I don't know, like a I'm trying to find I'm trying to think of like a good example, like the Tesseract. Like, it's like, oh, it's this future thing and blah blah blah, and it does all this stuff, and no, it's science. You can't comprehend it, so it looks like magic. Like, I don't want any of that. I want it to look like science still. I'd rather it be that. I'd rather a big, stupid, reel-to-reel computer that does something crazy. I'd rather have Exodus than the Tesseract any day of the week. A little Ultima reference for the fans out there. Just works better visually. It's more fun. I've never been a big fan of minimal design, as if you've glanced at my channel, you can super tell. I don't mind if things are sleek, but like overly minimal, I think it works if your objective is like a bit of surrealism. I don't mind it in that respect, but in a practical world, there's something lost there, I think, or something that doesn't work quite as well. All right. So this works here. And this works here. Just kind of, yeah. All right, time to zoom in. This is where it gets fun. All right, let's fade these guys down a little bit. Let's get rid of that completely. Let's see what we can do with these wires if we just go ham on them. Give it a little bit of the ham bone. Man, you know a game had a terrible inventory system? Speaking of them, is Skyrim. Skyrim might, I don't want to say least favorite in game, because there's been some pretty bad ones, but I cannot remember being more annoyed with an inventory system than the first time I played Skyrim. And it's coming from Morrowind is what will do it. I played Oblivion a lot. Oblivion had, it was in the middle. Like, in all ways, it was a halfway house between those two games. But if you play Morrowind and then play Skyrim, you're just like constantly asking yourself why this? Why was this choice made? And the answer is for controllers. But that answer's not good enough for me, because Morrowind was on Xbox and it was still way better inventory than this like LR bumper organization, which unfortunately seems to have become like the norm, which is odd. Like, having like a million inventory tabs is sort of a normal thing to do, and depending on how much stuff is in your game, that it can be a bit of a detriment. Like, if you look at like Dark Souls, inventory does that, but it's kind of fine. Here's all your armor, here's all your weapons, whatever. It's still mostly just your stuff hanging out, but there's a little bit of organization there, and it's fine. It'd be nice to get in and organize it more, but that's okay. It's not too bad. But then you look at like Elden Ring, which has like 40 inventory tabs, so many that you forget which one's which and what the symbols are for, and like you play such a game within the game of figuring out. You picked up an item, you're like, what did I pick up? Was it a knife? Was it a trinket? Was it a weapon? Was it a key item? Was it something that is a sword but is actually a key? Was it called a knife but it's actually a spell? Scratch that. Miracle. Like, everything was so weird, and items are so strange in that world that you can't know what something is at a glance. And they flash a symbol, but you gotta like, oh, was that the key? Was that the key thing? Was that this thing? You better be paying attention, otherwise you end up going on inventory hunts, which is the opposite of playing a video game that's navigating windows but with not a mouse. It's like a situation you never want to come of many questionable design choices from Elden Ring. That was the most prevalent. That was the one I ran into the most. Because there's so much stuff in the game. You're nonstop getting. That's the one thing they didn't skimp on. Is like trinkets and weapons and this and that, which is cool. That is what you want, that like in a game like that you want as much of that as possible. So I can't call that a disappointment, but the finding it all is often quite difficult. It's rough inventory. I wish more games were designed with like I don't know. I guess that game's meant to be played with a controller even at your computer, but if you're going to make a game for a controller, like, go all the way. Don't make it like that where it's unwieldy it's unwieldy with a controller and it's unwieldy with a mouse and keyboard. Don't try to do both badly. Pick one and go all the way. That way people can just deal if they don't want to play it the way it's intended. Like, it's fine to leave mouse and keyboard, but build it for one, because everybody has a controller anyway. It's not the 90s. You don't need it's not annoying to hook up a joystick anymore. Most people have a controller right next to their desk. Yum yum yum. Yum yum yum. What was I talking about? Yeah, it's an odd design thing. Because some games just aren't for mouse and keyboard. Even the PC games aren't for mouse and keyboard. And it's a better world. It's having when you design a game saying this is for a controller or this isn't, rather than having to say this is for consoles or this isn't. Like, that's the distinction. Once upon a time, that was the problem, is they would basically be guaranteed to have different control schemes. If you made a game and you ported it to PC, a lot of people aren't going to have a joystick is like a third even weirder option. So you'd have the console controls, the keyboard controls, and then the even worse gamepad controls if you were gamepad compatible at all. So you would just open up this third avenue for things to go wrong. But now, since it's very standard for people to have both, and games are often developed where they're just fine on both systems, because we've all finally, like, as a nation, agreed on or not as a nation, as a planet, have agreed on a standard kind of comfortable controller layout. We all know what we like: 4 face buttons, D-pad, 2 joysticks, 2 R buttons, 2 L buttons. Games can all be designed with that in mind. I wouldn't mind a few more buttons. I still feel like we're a little bit lacking, but that's all right. I'd rather we all stay having the same thing and having this problem solved than anybody add buttons to anything and reopen the can of worms. But if you need more buttons, play it on a keyboard. That can just be your solution. I'm a fan of hotkeys. Yes, I am. There's something very comfortable about settling into the hotkey groove of a game. It's not as common these days because games aren't usually made sort of densely enough to need a bunch of hotkeys. But there's a weird kind of thing when you play an older game. Anytime you play a game with a different sort of design mentality, it's going to be a second before you're in tune with it. A lot of people will say, like, that game's like really clunky. Like, it's not. You just are used to different things. I find this especially with like old RPGs and stuff, if you spend a half hour or an hour spending a little bit of time getting used to playing the game as it's intended, like with hotkeys and the way it wants you to move around and stuff, you will find it is extremely efficient most of the time. You will be playing the game very quickly, and it becomes really comfortable really fast when you play a game that way. You know, that it takes a second as an investment, but it becomes very satisfying when you're doing it right. And it's almost always worth the work. So it's like a groove. Sometimes you play a game and you're like, I'm going to need to settle into this. And sometimes that'll make you wait a minute. You're like, I'll play this another time when I can actually settle into it. And, you know, you need to get a little bit of adjustment time in. But I prefer that generally to a game that I like. There's a lot of games where I play where, like, from the tutorial, I already feel like I can play this game while I'm like watching a movie or something. Like right out the gate, I'm already like, okay, I got time between interesting stuff happening. I don't need to learn anything. Jump, punch, light attack, heavy attack, Batman fighting. I'm good, and I don't need to learn anything else. And they sort of bore you into complacency very early on. Common problem. Not that it's bad to have a game you can zoe down on, and like that is a good thing. It just shouldn't be the standard. That should be a type of game, not games, unless you do something differently. Should be non-standard issue. This bundle of wires is coming together slowly. We're making progress. Doesn't matter if you're drawing it slowly, as long as you're drawing it. Any work you don't have to later undo is work well spent. Let's see. Ooh. I'm kind of hungry. It's going to be time to stop and eat soon, but that is okay. We're going to go for a little while longer. I'll find something else to ramble about for another half hour. I should call all my streams Val Never Shuts Up. I devised this. It's a perfect opportunity. See, when we're doing plays with the crew, I have to stop and let other people talk. This has always been my ultimate ego game, is to set myself up to just ramble. I gotcha. What a skill set. Blather. I always think of I don't know what interest this has to anybody really, but in a particular tabletop game called Dark Heresy, it's one of the Warhammer tabletop games. If you're familiar with like Only War or the Space Marine one no one's played, it's a Fantasy Flight RPG. Anyway, the game is designed very much around like politics and stuff. It's a combat heavy game, but there is a ton of character like background and skills and things that affect your social interactions in a great way, because you're meant to play like agents, so you do a lot of investigating and talking to people. Like the game's kind of designed with that in mind in a great way. And it's 40K, and that's its own whole K. You know what 40K is, or you don't. You don't need the explanation from me. But it's a whole can of worms. Anyway, one of the skills in that game, I just remember reading it and being like, this is a genius way to make me feel like a real character in a real world. One of the skills underneath the like under the umbrella of your like your social and like conversational skills, the way the game worked basically is you have like an arch stat, and then all the skills you're trained in go under it. So you have your social skill, and then any of the sub skills roll your social skill. So one of them was Blather, and it's my favorite ability in any video game I've ever played. And you basically have to do it like in exchange for your initiative. So as like combat starts, instead of rolling initiative, I want to Blather. And it is to put it in action. To describe what it is in universe is like you're doing something and somebody busts into the room and is like, hey, who are you? And instead of drawing your gun, you're going, whoa, hang on, I know what this looks like. Just chill for a second. You can see my hands. Let's just talk this out. And you're the whole purpose of it is to basically get somebody to go, wait, what are you talking about? And it just eats their initiative up. That's all it does. That is the purpose of the skill, is you make your Blather check. And if it is reasonable that you could get away with it, because, if one of your allies is pulling out a gun, it's not going to work, but it can give you a moment to stop a fight from happening. You're just quick enough on the draw that you can slow things down for a second. Like I don't know, it's like a weird thing, because I can picture it so much, but I had never thought about it in terms of an RPG before. Like, imagine like a moment where somebody is somewhere they absolutely shouldn't be, but then they start just like speaking reasonably. Like, if you found somebody like in your back, you hear a noise in your backyard and you turn the light on, you're like, who the fuck's out there? And that person was like, well, hang on, just I'm not supposed to be here, so I was chasing a ball, or whatever, like I threw thumbs, I lost something over the fence, and I don't want to knock on your door and bother you, that it seemed like a good idea at the time, or whatever, lies. But you'd still be angry and you'd still kick them out, but if you had a gun, you probably wouldn't shoot them. And that's what it's about, which is just really interesting. And then it has a backup use. If you're in a social situation where people are talking, you can use it as like social camouflage. So you're like, yeah, we're at like this thing and we're all having conversations and stuff, and it's like, yeah, we want to sneak out, we want to sneak and do this thing. Like, okay, I'm gonna talk to the guy who, I'm gonna walk up and talk to the guard, and I'm just gonna roll blather. I'm just gonna I'm just gonna distract him with interesting conversation, like, the weather and this that. Just like the power of having like a dad conversation, you know what I mean? Like, yeah, drove up here, stay out of the rain, how about you get any rain where you're from? Like, those kinds of normal conversations that anyone can get caught up in and get distracted by, like, having that as a specific social skill, I just thought was so cool. It was a little moment, but it had a really big effect on how I think about game design, because giving you a combat use for a social skill is very difficult to do. It's difficult to conceptualize, it's difficult to describe, and it's difficult to place in reality where all of the players can like conceive of what's happening. You know what I mean? Like, the thing you don't want in any game is for someone to say, I get how that works on paper, but I don't understand what my character is saying. Like, you never want that if you can help it. And that's just a line you have to, sometimes that just doesn't happen. You just go, yeah, it doesn't make sense, but the game needs to flow, and you just make your peace with that. But when you can get all those things lined up like that, it's just beautiful. That's what you want every game to feel like, and it's what a cool way to have a non-combat character have something useful, have social stealth skills, like, good stuff. You'd never get to do that in D&D. Very lively. But I guess that's what it's all about, right? You should always play different RPGs. Play all the weird ones you can. They're all interesting. They're all strange. Even the dumb ones, it's fun to enjoy what's good about them or figure out what decisions made them the way that they are. Sometimes you got to scratch a little deeper than you expect, and you find gems sometimes. There's a lot of weird games I would have never picked up if I hadn't been just like, this looks silly. Let's just see what's going on here. And that kind of stuff will have an effect on you. Or maybe not. Maybe don't do it and just enjoy what you have. that's the thing. I guess that's the other perspective. Just play the games you know. Sometimes you don't want to know that there's a bigger world out there. That you just enjoy what you're given. You'll be able to enjoy it more fully if you don't know that there's a better way to play. So as soon as you start dipping your toes into too many games, that's when you start homebrewing, and that's the end of it. You're done. You're a nerd for life now. You're gonna start making campaigns no one wants to play. Which, interestingly, brings us full circle to what I'm working on here, because this is going to be for an RPG session that I ran. It's gonna be for a narrative type game that we did with Chum Lily that'll be coming out soon, which will feature lots of fun visual artwork. It's not all great, but it is enjoyable, and I recorded it all in real time for you guys, so like while the narrative's happening, there's going to be scenes will be like being actively drawn while we're working through the narrative, so there should be a lot of really fun visual stuff to look at while it's happening. That was my one big regret with when we did Escape to Planet Xanadu. Now, regret's not the right word. It was definitely a conscious choice. I knew I could sit and do more art for it, but I wanted to just make it and have it be complete and be able to look at it as a whole thing. And like not finishing things, I don't know. It's like a quest. A half-finished quest does not give you experience, no matter how much time you spend trying to get it right. Like actually finishing it, putting it up, seeing how people respond to it, and seeing how you feel about it as a complete thing gives you way more to chew on and work with, and more that you can use to improve. So I made the choice not to overdraw, not to overproduce, and just do it, have fun with it, get it done, and put it out. And see what it looks like, and I'm totally happy with it. But I did think of a lot of the drawings that like I could have done that might have been a lot of fun. I even tried to explore some of that in shorts. One of the first shorts I did was an animatic from the beginning of it, which was great. It bombed, and I don't care. My favorite joke of the entire the entire run of like 5 hours we recorded came within the first probably 20 minutes. And it was really funny at the time when I was editing it, going back, I was howling with laughter. I did the little animatic of it that I was really proud of, and it absolutely bombed. So I'm like, I'm glad I didn't put that much extra effort into, doing all this visual stuff, because obviously it's not getting that kind of appreciation. So I'll just enjoy it as I enjoy it. Like I don't need to put that extra effort in just yet. But I like that idea, like if that had done well, I might have done a bunch more. I don't know how many I could have mined out of that series, like how many interesting things there were that would have been worth animating. But if I could draw faster, I would animate or animatic, not animate, just do the little frame by frames. But I would do way more if I could draw quicker. That's like a big part of it. Like you're seeing my process right now. It's this slow. This is an excellent clip by my standards. I do not draw quickly. It has been, how long have we been streaming? It's been over an hour. I have drawn a desk in these wires. I have a really hard time drawing quickly. So things like that take a long time. They need a lot. They need a lot of love, and I do work on it. I do put time here and there into trying to work out kind of faster processes. It's an ongoing issue that I've been working on slowly, but I'm trying to develop a kind of faster way to do things so I can animate more stuff like that. Because in a simple game like that, like I could, if it did well and there was like an interest in doing it, I could put a ton of motion into it. I could really like do a lot of stuff to bring it to life. There's no point in doing it right now. It would be a lot of work that nobody but me would really like be super appreciative of. So it doesn't super bad. Like it can just be, it's good, and I like it the way it is, and it can just be as such. I hope I'm not reversing lighting right now. I am. Oh goodness me, because I'm drawing in white, my brain just went into autopilot, and I'm leaving the white as light when I need to be reversing that. I need to be using it as shadows, because this is going to be blacklined in the end. Or maybe it's not, who knows. Life's a nightmare. Well, let's find out. We can use these wires. Let's make these a vertical slice. Let's push these up and try to see what they will look like in the finished drawing. And I can use that to make some decisions about how the overall piece is going to be. So rather than work out the basics of everything, let's push these for a bit. Let's do maybe just this part right here. Let's do this part of these wires, and see if I can get a sense of what I want the overall image to look like. It'll give me a good guide for what we're doing going forward. So let's start. That is kind of interesting, isn't it? Let's leave it white for now, just for funsies. We drew it white, let's leave it white. We'll just see what happens. I do want some of these wires to be black, but we want to give them just a hint of color. Just a little bit. Now I can shade them in with a little more black. What color is this? Maybe red. That's trouble. Wires, there's a lot of just like black nothing with wires. That's not the right color. I don't know what it's going to be, but I know it's not going to be that. I don't know, dark red. That's something interesting. Something visual. All right, and then let's color like one of these wires to give it some pop. How about this one? I'll just give it like some of this. Kind of interesting. where does this one curve? Make sure we follow the curve of it correctly. And then it can kind of get lost in there, but it'll give a little visual continuity. I don't remember what, I think grounding wires? I remember when I was learning a little bit of electrical stuff. I remember one of the wires having like little stripes on it. I can't remember if it was the positive, the negative, or the ground, but, or the high. I don't know anything about electricity. I'm just going to stop talking because all of my words are going to be misinformed. I remember one of the colors was stripy. That will be the extent of this. So I'm thinking maybe do that. And then let's see. I like that. Yeah, it's got a little bit of safety hazard color, so I like that. And then maybe we'll leave the rest. Actually, I think I am going to go back to hard black. I think we'll leave them black. That way we'll have a little bit more space to play light and color on them. We can make like a much harsher reflections there. That's what I'm trying to say. We can make much harsher reflections off of them. So let's do a few things here. We're gonna clear this dark background off. I do need something. So let's do. Where's my standard gray? Paper color. Let's go. I'm gonna go a little darker than that. This isn't the color it's going to be. This is just to give me... It's just a canvas that gives me the right amount of light to work on here. Okay. And then let's make these dark. Let's see what that looks like. I'm going to do it with a mask. That way I can change it back and forth easy. So just making a layer above it. Clip that layer. Draw it all black. We got black wires. Perfect. So this is interesting. Yeah, that flattened it out quite a bit. Get this desk out of my way. This desk is bright. There we go. All right. So we got a little bit of a sense of what this is gonna... It gives us a little sense of what this is gonna look like. Let's fill in our colors properly. That is not the right brush. There we go. Nice and dark, nice and dark, nice and dark. That's what we want. What we don't know... leave that one blue, why not? What I don't know yet is what the lighting colors are gonna be. That's going to be the big contender, but let's just try a little work with the standard Automaton palette. Let's try that first. Let me see, where are you? These are kind of our standard colors. I just bust it out right here. And let's do some of this like strong purple. See what that gets us. I'm gonna bring it up a little bit. There we go. That goes there. This goes there. We're doing colors. Okay. No, brighter. All right, this is metal. Go way brighter. Way brighter. There we go. This is a nice little metallic sheen. I think the light's coming from straight up, or maybe like the center of the room, kind of upwards. So that gives us a start, and then we can shiny, shiny, shiny. Too bad. I kind of like that. I always feel like I want to but I did that for the last one, and I have to remind myself yeah, I do that for all. That's the point. that's the visual theme of the channel is to do this. Okay, that's kind of interesting. Let's bring that above the nightmares. Let's bring that above the lines. There we go. That's interesting. Let's see what we get out of that. We'll have to thin it out a little bit. Let's go softer. Light brush, light pen, light pen. If anybody's interested I don't know why you would be, but if you have an interest from a technical standpoint, this is all using just a stock pen tool. I'm not doing anything, nothing fancy, nothing extra, just a basic pen tool on my basic tablet. I get asked from time to time. I have very few fancy brushes. I find most art programs, you really do have what you need just in the style. It's nice to have specific ones for specific tasks here and there. It just saves you work in the long run, but there's nothing you need to go on a brush hunt for. All of the best effects can be accomplished with just a little bit of scratching it out with a pen tool. not too shabby. That kind of works. We need to lay in some dark. Let's do that next. Bring this way down. Darker. Darker. There we go. Slightly lighter than that. Slightly lighter than that. Yeah, I think that's about right. Might be where I started. Okay, then I need a little bit of that. There we go. That'll give the wires a little bit of life. Give them a little bit of light in their own color. And then we might go in and blend that just a nibble. Just a tiny bit. We'll see. This, give a little bit of this, a little bit of light in its own color. There we go. And some dark. Classic 3-layer shading. Hard works for losers. Alright. So I like that. Spin it around. Sorry if that's... I do that when I'm thinking, and I know it's not fun to... It's not always great to watch at the stream. Alright, let's try something else then. This is kind of neat. Just for fun. Ooh. Oh, man, it does look good. Actually, I actually don't even know if I want to mess with it. I'm actually kind of happy. Like there's some individual choices that need to be adjusted, but like stylistically speaking, I think it's kind of nice. But let's go above it. Okay. I'm making a copy of that whole situation. Merge selected layers. There we go. So that's all one layer now, one big dumb layer. I saved as a backup, so, you know. And I'm going to get it and mess with it. Let me see if I can make it wrong. Flatten this in the middle a little bit so it'll give those corners a little pop. Yeah, we'll keep the border. I kind of like the, there's a nice style to it. There we go. See if this gives it just a little more life. Maybe a little bit of that pale light on this side too. Hedge that in. Yeah. Not too bad. It's a bit lively. I can leave this kind of pixel sharp in the center there, so it gives it... That kind of establishes the high end of the resolution here. And then the rest of this I can just kind of blend in a little bit. And I want to turn it into a mass of wires rather than... What, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, however many like distinct wires. I want it to look like kind of an amalgam. So I don't want them to stand out too much, but I don't want them to be faded so much that it looks like I didn't bother. You kind of need to... It's very easy to, when you're trying to make things look like background elements, to go too far and you get rid of work that you've done. And it makes it look like you didn't bother even though you actually worked twice as hard. Very easy trap to fall into. The real technique is to know how much work to put into them to begin with so that you don't end up in that scenario. It's a delicate balance, but it's definitely a mark of a champion artist when you see somebody just go in with no wasted brush strokes. You know what I mean? Where everything is like really purposeful. Every line you lay down that you don't end up like needing. It's good experience, but that is like the difference when you see people who are really good at their craft, much better than me. They don't have those kind of wasted lines. Maybe they'll erase something here and there, but they're not constantly overriding the things they've done. They're building on them rather than replacing them. It's hard to do. Hard to do. Much like breaking up. Alright, yeah. A little bit of this and a little bit of that. I need this thing to exist in the world. It's gotta look like it can all fit. Is this an extra wire, or is this an extra wire? Let's bring it up. Down, 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 down. Make a little shine to make them distinctive. There we go. Easy peasy. Nothing to it. Free. Yeah. Alright. That's not bad. So something like that. I still don't know how I feel about that in terms of the overall room, but it's okay. I'd have to do a lot more, I think. But it's a good start. Sometimes it's fun to get in and just try some different visual styles on something. Oh, here, let's watch. Let's do something fun. It's another copy. Same image, different style. Let me grab my bleeding brush. How about some of this then? See what that looks like. I am more or less. Ooh. Hoo-hoo. Screw whatever I was going to say. This is interesting. Bleed that in. Stop it. Accidentally grabbing the wrong color is 10 years I've been doing this. It's still jarring. Try to grab a specific color and you come away with the wrong one. Ooh, that was a mistake. Reverse, reverse. There we go. This is kind of interesting. It's noisy. I like it. Very aggressive lines. Keep throwing myself with this the way I steepled the corner of this, whatever this device is. It's like connector or merger? I don't know what it is. I think, reminder, I know nothing about electricity. I think what this thing does is, I think one of these wires, like originally these were like clamped together just because they were all going to the same place. But like one of these wires needed something like maybe repaired on it, or maybe something needed to be done or changed and had to be like split open and worked on. And then in that process, they ended up just like merging it with another wire in here. I was just like, it's more efficient. We don't need two wires to do this job. And they just put them together. And then this thing is just like some sort of thing, some sort of like limiter to keep them from overheating or something. Like something about putting them together, in my mind, like solved one problem but created another. Like it solved the bigger problem but created a minor one, and that minor problem is solved by whatever this metal box is that is clamped around them. Maybe it's just like for heat, or I don't know what it does, but I think that's what I think it does. That looks neat. I've been tempted before, but I've actually never done like a really big scale image all in this kind of pixelated look, and this might be the one. I'm kind of curious what results we're going to get out of it, because it's already starting to look kind of interesting. Even if the pixels are kind of wandering a little bit, I might need to do a bit more sharpening, but there's something kind of cool here. The accidental dithering is really cool and striking. And of course, intentional dithering, also nice, but you know it's all a fluke. It's cool seeing the transformation too when you take something that is normal and just like swoop pixels over it. You can do it with it. It's not even that hard, really. If you have a tablet to do it with, you can do it with a mouse if you really wanted to. You can take a normal picture and just use pixel pens and just cripple the resolution without changing the size, and it's always cool. The things you get from it is really neat. You can do the really like compressed look. I don't know, maybe that's just a thing. I'm very nostalgic for it, but I know I'm not the only one, because it seems to be very in vogue, which I could not be happier for. It's a great pixels. No graphics age like pixels. That it is an absolute fact of life. It's especially true in video games. Pixels age like wine. 3D graphics age like cheese. No, cheese is a bad example because of cheese keeps. 3D graphics age like lettuce. They're great when you get it, but it does not take very long before they start to smell funny. Even if you look at games that you remembered being visually impressive, like they can really throw you. But a lot of that comes, art design. Art design is forever. If you have good design, your graphics, your level of graphics don't matter, as long as you create a style and a look all your own. It can still work for you, which is why we're seeing cool. I guess we're kind of in the swing of it now, but it still feels recent. We're starting to see like I don't know, Generation 4. I don't know, PlayStation 1, Nintendo 64 generation. PlayStation 1 especially, we're starting to see games that are designed with that aesthetic, which is really cool. I always wondered kind of if that would happen or if it ended at pixels, because of course you're going to see games built off like the NES aesthetic. It's both easy to produce now, it's nostalgic, it's got a great look, like I said, it ages well. There's like a lot of reasons why that kind of thing would be desirable and you'd want to see it come back. So like that's a dead ringer. Super Nintendo, even more so. Many people nostalgic for it. Also, just a gorgeous era of graphics. You know, hit and miss obviously, but games that looked good on the Super Nintendo look exactly as good now. They've lost nothing in terms of quality. So that was gonna come back, but PlayStation 1 games, that's a little bit more tricky because that's a specific look that I love. I love the murky PS1 look. It's beautiful. That is something that it is a style I almost never get tired of. And the graphical limitations just really add some spice there. But seeing games developed to look like that now, because like a game made, like a 16-bit game made now does not look like it is in the style of a Super Nintendo game, but you don't really believe it's in a resolution that it didn't have. That's the biggest thing, I suppose, is the resolution. But there are elements that you wouldn't see on its original console to its benefit. We use a few modern tricks here and there to keep everything clean and optimized and efficient, and you can capture that look without having your legs broken now. Seeing people do that with PS1 games, the thing you get out of it is so cool looking. If you look at a game like Stormworks is my favorite example, or like Nobody Lives Under the Lighthouse is a good one, or PS1 Bloodborne. Like if you look at those games, they're just really interesting and neat. They just catch your eye and your imagination, or maybe they just do to me because that's an era of graphics I grew up in. But I remember thinking when I played the Spyro remastered game, which was awesome. I am about to knock it, but it was really good. It was super worth playing. It was a great experience as a big fan of the originals. Like it was wonderful to see all of these really interesting, colorful areas, because art design lasts forever. Spyro 1 has gorgeous art design. It looks great. People clearly understood the space and what the like player's experience was going to be while they were playing the game. Like it just masterfully made. Seeing it in high def graphics is really neat, but I would call it the original's equal, not its superior, because there is a look all its own to PlayStation 1 games, and the original one has it. It is a visually pinnacle. Spyro 2 especially is, I think, the pinnacle of like what the PlayStation 1 was capable of in its heyday, like just doing everything visually right, which is really, really gorgeous. But that was kind of my first realization, like, oh, the PS1 actually really did look interesting. It had a look all its own, and especially when it didn't try to do realism, which I think is a dangerous place for games to live, swinging at realism. You can make a style and that will live a long time. If you try to make something realistic, you are gambling that the graphics you're using are going to have a lot of longevity. Unless you're like Red Alert and you're just using recordings of real people like a boss. I know that's not a popular visual style and it shouldn't be, but Red Alert did the hell out of it. Any game where Ric Flair can yell at me is a game I want to play. Woo! So this is neat. I actually kind of like what we're getting out of this, but the question is it worth it when I zoom out? Can you still see the amount of work that's going into that? I think so. I think there's something there still. I might push forward with this. This might be the style I do the drawing in. I kind of did this as a lark, but I'm starting to... I done tricked myself. I'm starting to find something to like here. So the sharpness is pleasing. I think I've just done I've been doing a ton of like work with just like markers and stuff and like more painty, out of focus things, which are fun to do. I like them, but I do them mostly because it's mostly out of necessity. It's a function of a skill that I need to make sure I have developed. It's something I need to have in my pocket that I'm usually not great at, so I've been really over investing in that style lately just to keep sharp and just sort of evolve that skill set personally. But I think that just the contrast going back to this is like really pleasing my brain right now. I'm very happy with it, and that may keep it around for this drawing. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. I may just smooth this out later when I need to actually finalize it, but I'm gonna bank on this right now because I'm enjoying it. Just gonna hope I get to finish it this way. That'd be great. That'd be great. All right. On that note, I think it is time for me to make myself some dinner. Get straddled in for my evening's work. I need to do some editing, and then I have some paid work to do. So, got all that in a bag of chips. So I'm gonna hop off in just a second here. So thank you everybody for showing up. This is technically the first official Automaton stream, as odd as it was to choose this. Like I said, this is mostly like a benchmark thing. I wanted to just kind of test the technology and see what I can do and what it would look like, and so on and so forth. So I'm happy with this. The setup kind of worked. I'm sure I'll make changes and adjust things as I go. I don't know if the webcam's going to stay, but for now I like it, so it all kind of worked. Other things that might end up on screen, I don't know how to do a lot of like integration stuff. That's all new to me. It's kind of a whole new world. There's kind of a learning curve to a lot of this stuff for me. So we'll see what comes of it. But like I said, there's a few narrative games that I want to stream in the near future, and that will almost certainly happen. I would love. I have a few game ideas that I would actually love to do, like tabletop style stuff that I would like to stream, so that people can kind of see it live and interact. 'Cause I have some ideas. I don't want to give anything away, not because it's a cool secret, but because I don't want to say it and then not deliver on it. But I have a couple of interesting ideas for things I'd like to run that would involve audience participation. So there would be something for the people watching to do to interact with the story that I think would be fun. The one that I did this for, like, I didn't think about it until it was done, and I'm glad, because this thing that I'm drawing this for was really fun to record, and I'm really happy with how it came out. And I would be sad if it didn't exist. Like, it's better that it's in this world. But if I had thought of this and hesitated and waited on it, this would have been a perfect project to have an audience for, to be involved in and make some noise. And I could have come up with some really interesting stuff to play into what was happening in the game based on what the audience was doing. But I have more of those. I actually have a number of ideas. Once I kind of struck upon that idea mentally, I kind of had like a little buzz of different concepts of ways that I could have an interactive audience have an effect on the game. So I look forward to some of that, provided I can succeed and make it happen and gather an audience large enough to merit the participation. So we'll see what happens with that, but this needs to get thinned out. That's a little too blocky. See that right there? That looks a little bit 2000s Flash game for me. I need to there we go. Clean it up, make it work. Anyway, that's enough of that. This has been Wirecast, where I draw one set of wires and talk about nothing for 2 hours. So, thank you for watching, everybody. Thank you for being here. I will catch you all. I don't want to say a time limit. I think I want to do my first playing video games stream for this tomorrow. That might happen. Be softly aware of that. I don't know when, maybe 12, 1 o'clock. I'm just going to go for it and do it, and whoever shows up, shows up. It's mostly going to be for the process of recording it. So if anybody's here, I'll have fun, I'll have the chat open and whatever so we can interact. But mostly it's going to be for me to just record this super long game. Just solo, that way I don't have to schedule it with anybody. So we'll see what happens with that. So see you tomorrow or not, or whenever.